let's talk NASCAR Clash at the Coliseum 2023 because it was first of all, NASCAR's back, and we gotta acknowledge that NASCAR's officially back, and it was awesome. And like I said, I like the Clash at the Coliseum. I know some people don't like it and they think, oh, it should be back at Daytona or it should be at a normal track, but I, for one, enjoy the Clash at the Coliseum. I think it's been very entertaining this year. It kind of progressed to a level I don't know if NASCAR wants it to be as aggressive as it was, but we're going to talk about that during this episode. I thought overall, this is the first time I've watched practice in a really long time too. So if you can't tell, I was really ready for this race, but the heats were really good. I thought they were aggressive racing, and I think NASCAR's at 25 laps for that length. I think it's perfect because it doesn't take too long. The LCQs, I almost think, were too long at 50 laps, but they were all entertaining races. Kevin Harvick made like a last lap pass of 2 cars to get into the main event. Like, it was awesome. My issue with the whole weekend, and I know we've only been talking for like a minute, so I hate to be getting in to issues, but I wanted to get this episode out a lot earlier than I did, and now I'm recording it, and I'm like, oh shoot, I wanted to release it a couple days ago. So we're just kind of flying here, so I'm sorry if I'm a little all over the place in this episode, by the way. But I thought when you got to the main event Sunday night, it was pretty good up until the halfway break. And also, just for the record, I like the halfway break in the Clash, and I know even more people don't like the halfway break, but I think it's really fun. One time a year we can put on this spectacle race, and it's just entertaining. Would I want to do it every single race? No. Would I want to see it 2 times a year? Probably not. I think for this one special race in a special venue, that's fantastic. But I'm diverting from the point a little bit. What we were going at is, once that second half of the main event on Sunday got underway, and if you didn't watch it, there was a caution every 2 or 3 laps for the most part. Like, NASCAR could not get that race going green for their life. It felt like, I know I'm an iRacer, and a lot of the people who listen to this podcast are iRacers too, so it felt like a C-Fix truck race or something, where you were constantly just doing pace laps and waiting for it to go back green, and it finally goes green again, and then you're right back under caution. And on one hand, you're doing a great job of creating entertaining races, and that's what we saw in the heats. They were being aggressive, not afraid to put the bumper to one another, and that's the good thing with this new body that NASCAR's put on these Cup cars too, is it allows them to get a lot more racy. But the issue is kind of what we saw Sunday night. You had in my opinion, the perfect example of this in the heats. That was great racing. Those heats were some of the most entertaining thing I've watched. But you got to Sunday, and I think a lot of people probably turned the channel because they couldn't keep it green. They got too aggressive, and they just crossed the line where they were bumping each other, but they weren't worried if it took each other out, and people were wrecking. It was just kind of a mess, and I've seen a lot of that on social media too. And the Clash has to be the race where NASCAR really puts on a good show for the fans, and they were doing that until Sunday. And most people probably didn't tune in on Saturday or maybe even Sunday afternoon, early evening when the heats were going on. People watched that main event Sunday night, and I don't think that lived up to the rest of the weekend. But the rant is over. The Clash, I still enjoyed watching it. It got, like I said, a little tiring, but we saw some great racing. A lot happened, a lot of news to talk about, and we're just got the rant out of the way. So now we can talk about the good stuff, and if you've listened to it up to here, thank you so much. So the first big surprise I talked about in our last episode, we went through all the silly season changes, and one thing I had said about Ryan Preece was that I was worried that he was going to be rusty after not having run a Cup car in a year. And I think he proved me wrong. Am I completely convinced he's going to be better? No. But he went out there, led laps, and for a time it looked like Ryan Preece could very well win the Clash. He didn't. That car kind of fell off on the long run, but Ryan Preece was arguably one of the top 3 best drivers that day, at least for a period of time. Now, could he have beaten Martin Truex Jr.? Absolutely not. Truex was just fantastic, and we're going to talk about Truex later too, but my thing is that Ryan Preece had a fantastic race. Now, can he back that up in the coming weeks? Because they talked about it on the broadcast too. He's a modified racer. He's used to the little quarter miles. Now, when we go back off of what is his stomping ground, is he going to be able to back that up? I don't think it's going to happen immediately. I guess I'm just a Ryan Preece hater. I don't know, but I think I was very pleasantly surprised, and I think a lot of people want to see him do good. I was a fan of his when he was running at JTG Doherty, so I wanted him to do good this year, and he definitely had a good car for a while there. The setup just didn't help him on the long run, but I think he showed a lot of potential, and I'm going to take back that I thought he was going to have a little bit of a rough start to the season. I think he could have a good run if he can build up a little momentum. The next story about another driver I wanted to talk about was Ty Gibbs, because he had a terrible weekend, and that was not to his own problem. He had the fire in practice. I didn't actually see that happen live, but I saw that his car caught on fire, and then they couldn't get it fixed. Or I don't think it was that they couldn't get it fixed before qualifying. It was that the crew did some unapproved adjustment, and so NASCAR wouldn't let them qualify or something like that. But then he goes out into the race, and he makes the show, and he's having a pretty good night, and then doesn't end up finishing the main heat, and it ended up being a not good result. But I think we saw a lot of potential. I personally was surprised to see out of him in his first full-time Cup start. He showed a lot more speed than I and probably a lot of people expected him to, and I'll give it the fact that Joe Gibbs brought a bunch of really good race cars to the track that weekend, but I think there's only so much a good car can do, and he was driving that race car. And I go back to, again, he was sitting on pole at Phoenix at the end of last season in 2311's equipment. So I think we got to expect bigger things than I did. So my expectations for him went up a little bit after the Clash. Not going crazy, but, you know, he had a really good run. Another thing that just impressed the heck out of me was Richard Childress Racing all weekend in RCR. We knew Kyle Busch coming into that organization would really give them a boost, but they just accelerated, and I think they had a 2-3 finish. It was a great weekend for them, and Kyle got turned by Joey Logano in the main event, and then he drives all the way back through the field and finishes in third. So it was just a good weekend for them, and they were good in the Clash last year. I've got a good feeling for them too, and Daytona's always a place Chevy seems to do really well. Speed-wise and qualifying, not always in the race, but Austin Dillon's won the 500, so it could be a good year for them too. But I don't want to just sit here and talk about my opinions of everything all day, so go ahead and tweet us at WRN Broadcasting if you want to get in on the conversation, if you think I'm right or wrong about something, and what were your opinions of the Clash. We'd love to hear it from you. Overall, we're going to talk big picture viewership for the Clash for Fox Sports. It did drop this year from what NASCAR did last year, and I'll grant them the fact, though, it was still higher than average for a standard NASCAR race, but the Clash should be, especially with as big a spectacle as NASCAR wants it to be. TV ratings dropped about 15% this year off of last year's Clash, which is obviously not what NASCAR wants to have happen. They want to increase viewership throughout the season, but the Daytona 500 is coming up. I think they're going to hope that gets a little bit closer to what they did last year. I think Daytona 500, if that's down by a decent percentage too, then maybe you've got issues. And I think we're not going to make any kind of speculation really until we see this, but I don't think it's a big deal. People are going to make a big deal about ratings being down 15%, and it is sort of a big deal, but in the grand scheme, they still had like almost 3 million people tune in to watch that race. So NASCAR is doing okay. It's not panic. Usually as soon as you see a ratings drop, everyone wants to panic and get all clickbaity type content like, oh my gosh, NASCAR's going under. I don't think that's the case, that again, that's just my opinion, and I'm here just spewing opinions to you all. We will be right back after this quick word. I got to get a plug in for Upside, the free app that lets you earn cash back on the gas you buy every single day. I use it myself. I've saved a ton using the app, and you can also use it to save money on groceries and dining. It's really a good deal. I recommend it. So we've got the link in the episode description. You can check it out. And if you use code Mitchell9789, you can get an extra 15 cents a gallon off your first purchase using the Upside app. My last fill up, and none of this is scripted that Upside gave me, but my last fill up, I saved like $4 using Upside. So I highly recommend go check it out. The link is in the video description if you're on YouTube, or the episode description if you're listening to us on a podcast software, and put in promo code Mitchell9789. That's MITCHELL 9789, and you'll get an extra 15 cents per gallon off your first purchase. So make sure to go check them out. It's a free app, iOS, Android. It's a good deal. I highly recommend it. But we're going to talk about other things now. Like we said, been through the Clash. The Clash is done. And I've heard people talking about, this came out a lot through social media, is that with Auto Club Speedway, if you're not in the loop about it, 2023 is going to be the last year we race on the 2-mile Auto Club Speedway. After this season's race, it's going to get torn down. It's going to be really sad because that was one of the best tracks in NASCAR. In my opinion, is one of the most fun races to watch. A lot of great memories and finishes at there. But anyways, they're tearing it down and putting in a short track. And the hope was that this would be done, I believe, for 2025. I think they knew it wasn't going to be done for next year, but they're thinking now that those renovations may take longer than expected, and that it could be until like 2026 before we see NASCAR racing at Auto Club Speedway again. And so the discussion has been, well, if we can't race at Auto Club, we need to get a race on the schedule. So let's go to the Clash and let's make it a points race. That's, I think, what was kind of initially thrown out. I don't know if that comes from NASCAR. I know that NASCAR is considering that. I don't know how much they're considering that. But again, I'm here to spew my opinions and tell you what I think, because I've been a racing fan my whole life. So, in my personal opinion, you've got tracks that could use that race. And I'm a little bit salty still because Kentucky Speedway is my home track and they took it off the channel. But all I'm saying is you've got tracks that have lost dates or whatever happened. Let's give one of them the date. Make them a points race again. I'm going to push Kentucky Speedway because, let's give, you even have North Wilkesboro's back. Let's give North Wilkesboro a points race. Why not? You've got options. And I know that NASCAR wants to make the Clash at the LA Coliseum this big spectacle, but let's not try and make it more than it is. The Clash is this fun exhibition race type thing where drivers can go beat and bang for 150 laps, heat race, LCQs, all that. It's really fun, and I almost worry that if NASCAR were to make that a points-paying race, it's going to kind of taint the Clash and what that is, because not everything needs to be super, oh my gosh, stage points, pitch strategy for more points, all that stuff, because you have the Clash and the duels. Those are fun things. And, I'm worried that if NASCAR were to do that, and again, this is not at all yet that NASCAR is going to do it. It's just being thrown out that NASCAR is considering making the Clash a points race. And as far as I'm aware, they haven't actually confirmed the Clash for 2024 at the LA Coliseum. They probably will. It's no secret that NASCAR spends a lot of money on the Clash in the LA Coliseum, but from what we're seeing, they think that's a worthwhile investment for them to keep doing, so I expect them to keep doing this at least for the next several years. And if it's been successful for the most part so far, and it gives NASCAR some flexibility with that they could do this, and they could take it other places if they want to. I think it's really nice in the LA Coliseum, but if this product they've created in the Clash in the Coliseum keeps working, it gives them a lot of flexibility in the future. So they've given themselves some options. Other news that came out of Clash weekend, you have Kevin Harvick was in the booth, and he announced that he is going to be a Fox commentator next year, which I love. So Kevin Harvick announced before the season he's retiring. Now in 2024, he is going to join Mike Joy and Clint Boyer in the Fox Sports booth for the Cup Series, which is a very good thing. Kevin Harvick, he's an entertaining guy, and they brought up like Joey Logano and stuff in the race. Those guys are entertaining to listen to in the booth, and hopefully in the future they've got a lot to work with. And I think Kevin Harvick, he's a good personality. He's been in the sport a long time, so hey, why not? It should be a good show. You also had Jimmy Johnson announce he is going to run the Chicago Street Course, which I constantly forget is actually on the schedule. It is, and then I hear about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, we are doing that this year. But it should be, it'll be an interesting race. It'll be weird to see NASCAR on a street course, but I think it's going to be a good thing. And I'm a huge Jimmy Johnson fan. I'm a lifelong Jimmy Johnson fan. So obviously the more races you want to do, Jimmy J, hey, that's fine with me. While I've got you, if you made it this far in the episode, quick plug for WRN. We are doing a NASCAR Fantasy League this year. I've never done it before, but I believe it's free to play. We're not going to worry about prizes. We're just doing it for fun and the pride and glory of winning, and then, or if you don't win, like I probably won't win, pretending like you didn't win. But anyways, you can search on the NASCAR Fantasy, the weekly fantasy on NASCAR's website. You can search in the Pit Stop by WRN and join our league. It should be a ton of fun. I'm going to be playing. There's going to be other people playing. It's going to be fun. Totally, again, free. Just come, enjoy, compete. It's going to be awesome this year. Wanted to get the plug in for that before we go off the air. I also have to get my plug for WRN, and if you don't follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, we're at WRN Broadcasting. Also check out our website, WRNBroadcasting.com. We're working on doing more NASCAR news articles and stuff, and there's a place where you can log in or sign up, and I believe it'll notify you when we post new stuff. And just check us out. We have a lot of cool things, including, this is a nice little seg, the TNR Grand National Series, sponsored by Shoe Lawn Service on Monday nights. That is on our YouTube channel, which is also at WRN Broadcasting. We were at Dover this past Monday night for the I Wanna Go Fast 150, sponsored by FatalConcepts.com. And it was a very, very, very good race. Normally, this is from my broadcaster perspective, Dover is usually one of those tracks where the field gets really spread out and there's not a lot of passing opportunity once the tires wear off. So you're normally going to be in for some long runs with not a ton of action. But this week was not the case at all. I guess I shouldn't be surprised either, because this season for TNR has just been fantastic through the first 5 races. They've all been really, really good. If you haven't been watching, you really should be. You had, and me and Garrett in the broadcast booth, we thought that some drivers had pitted early and taken tires, but I guess they hadn't. We found out after the race. But you had drivers who had taken fuel on a caution that put them right about on the window to make it to the end, and you had drivers who hadn't taken the fuel yet, and they had to green flag pit stop later. And so basically you had the dynamic of these drivers trying to run down the drivers who had pit earlier from 2 laps down. And it made for a really, really great race. In the end, Johnny Eckert ran down, I believe, Philip Scott. Yeah, Philip Scott with 2 laps to go. It was just a fantastic run to the finish. And it was Eckert's first race of the season, too. He went out, ran a fantastic race. Definitely early on it was between him and Tom Bourne for who had the better car. They seemed equal, but then as soon as Eckert got to the lead, he just zoomed off. It was really impressive. This Monday night, we are headed to the Indianapolis Road Course, my other home track. So that is going to be, road courses always excitement to watch. It's going to be crazy, and I expect a good battle. Every single race has been good so far, so I would expect to see good stuff this Monday night. TNR Grand National Series sponsored by Shoe Lawn Service, live every Monday night on the World Racing Network, 8:05 Eastern Time, and wherever your time zone is, it's 8:05 Eastern. So make sure to check us out. But that is all for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. I'm trying to get this to a more consistent upload. I thought it was going to be Wednesdays, but then I wasn't able to get it out this Wednesday because I got busy. And so now we're figuring out what day we're going to be uploading the pit stop on, because we are going to get to a consistent day eventually. I'm thinking it's going to be Thursdays, but again, today is Friday, or whenever you're watching this, but this came out on a Friday, so I don't know. But either way, thank you for tuning in, and make sure to follow us at WRN Broadcasting for all the latest updates and broadcasts. The Pit Stop by the World Racing Network is a production of the World Racing Network. The host is Mitchell Adams. Our theme song is Aviation by Track Tribe and is used with permission from Track Tribe. This episode was written, edited, and mixed by Mitchell Adams. Thank you for listening.